I guess you love movies. I do too. Hi guys, and welcome back to another movie list video, and today we are going to be carrying on from where we left off. Last time we had 10 directors that I want to check out, and today we have another 10 directors. So I'm going to get straight into it. Obviously, if you haven't seen the last video, I'd really recommend checking that out, because that will help going into this video, understanding which directors I've already talked about and which ones I want to talk about in this one. So getting right into it, I'm going to talk about my first director, and at number 10 is F.W. Murnau, the German director, not French, I don't know what I was going to say French, during the silent era, one of the most sort of famous and acclaimed directors of that period, and I've already done a review of one of his films on my channel, his most famous and acclaimed film, Sunrise, which I really loved. If you haven't seen that review, again, I'd really recommend checking that out. But there are definitely other films from him that I want to check out, specifically The Last Laugh. Sorry for the belch there. A movie that is, again, another silent film, but has only one title card in the entire movie. F.W. Murnau was very famous for his dislike of the title cards, and didn't really like using them at all. And in this film he shows that and does it brilliantly, and is supposed to be one of the most inventive of all his films. I also want to see his sort of stamp on gothic horror with Nosferatu and Faust. Nosferatu also remade later on in the 1970s, and that movie I may be talking about later on in this video. On to the next director. At number 9 is Ernst Lubitsch. He's also a German director, did very different films, more comedies and satires during the early 1940s. Specifically his famous film To Be or Not to Be, a movie which was actually a satire of the Nazis during World War II, which was very risque and very controversial at the time, but has come on to become a classic, and a movie that has been taken off and that has inspired many movies to this day. He also did another movie called The Shop Around the Corner with James Stewart, which is definitely considered one of Stewart's best romantic comedies and lighter films, and one of the best romantic comedies of that era. Now on to number 8, I'm going to be talking about Berger and Powell, the directing duo, who did many movies together. The one that I have seen is The Red Shoes, an excellent ballet, beautiful Technicolor, and a really good performance by Maura Shearer. Has a great dance sequence with the Red Shoes ballet, which I really enjoyed a lot. They've done many other movies, musical and non-musical, with The Tales of Hoffman, Black Narcissist. They've done Stairway to Heaven, and The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. Done many movies, and all of these I'm very interested in checking out. They're known for their beautiful Technicolor, great imagery, and affecting stories. And I'm definitely looking forward to checking out more and more of their films. Next on the list is Preston Sturges at number 7. Someone that, again, like Lubitsch, did several romantic comedies in America, and is known as probably one of the kings of that sort of genre, alongside people like Howard Hawks, who's more known for the screwball comedy, which is another version of the romantic comedy. But Preston Sturges made movies like The Lady Eve, with Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda, and he also did Sullivan's Travels in 1941. And these films are known for being funny, entertaining, light, but also kind of meaningful, and sort of social commentaries in their own sense, specifically Sullivan's Travels. Now on to number 6, I'm going to be talking about John Cassavetes. There's many great directors from the 1970s, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, Robert Altman. Many great directors came of age in this era. However, John Cassavetes was the king of independent filmmaking in the 1970s, and made several masterpieces on very low budgets, and in very sort of confined circumstances, family dramas, intense psychological dramas. Specifically in his movies with Gena Rowlands, like A Woman Under the Influence and Opening Night. Peter Falk is also in on A Woman Under the Influence, and is specifically exceptionally good. He also did movies like The Killing of a Chinese Bookie and Faces. And he's considered to be a very important director in the independent film movement in the 1970s. Martin Scorsese was a big fan and friend of Cassavetes during that period, and definitely a director that I want to check out after this video. The next guy on my list is going to be David Lynch at number 5. David Lynch, probably most people have heard of him, and he's probably one of the first people on this list, maybe if you're not so into your film, or maybe not so up on your foreign directors, that you would know David Lynch. I've recently been watching his famous TV series Twin Peaks, and I've really enjoyed it, and I've been struck by its originality, its oddness, its dark humour, its kind of seductive style, and I've really enjoyed its surreal moments as well. So I want to definitely check out more of Lynch's work, specifically Mulholland Drive, Eraserhead and Inland Empire. I have seen Blue Velvet, which I really enjoyed. I definitely want to check out more of his work. He's definitely very individual and one of the more sort of definitive artists of the last 20 years. And now on to number 4 on my list is an Italian director. I spoke quite a bit about Italian directors like Fellini in my last list. Now I'm going to be talking about Michelangelo Antonioni in this one. He's made many films that I'm interested in seeing, and he's thought of as a very important director in that era of Italian cinema in the early 1960s and late 1950s, specifically 60s, with Antonioni. He made films like L'Eclipse, La Notte, L'Avventura and Red Desert, all considered incredibly important films in Italian cinematic history. Now on to number 3, I'm going to be talking about another French director again. In my earlier list I talked about many French directors, but this is another one, and he is Robert Bresson. Now Robert Bresson, again similar to Cassavetes, made very confined humanist stories during the French New Wave, specifically Hazon Bazalterre, I think is how you pronounce it, which is about the world through the POV of a donkey and all his owners throughout his life, and kind of shows a very unique perspective of humanity. He also made A Man Escaped, one of the most famous and acclaimed of all foreign and in general prison break films, and was considered a masterpiece among many. He also made a movie called Pickpocket, which also gets significant acclaim, and his films and all of their confined emotional centre, I really want to check out. Another French director that I'm really looking forward to watching more of his films. On to number 2, another German director. Obviously at the beginning I talked about Murnau and Lubitsch. Now I'm going to be talking about Werner Herzog, a director of exceptional ability, and during the 70s made a lot of very important films, also into the 80s. He was quite active over the sort of 60s, 70s and 80s. He does occasionally make films now, but mainly documentaries. His most famous film probably as a feature would be Aguilar Wrath of God, a movie that is considered to have inspired many movies like Apocalypse Now specifically, and is definitely one of the most affecting adventure and psychodramas of all time. Fitzcarraldo is another movie which is considered to be brilliant, and as I said earlier on, he also made the remake of Nosferatu, Nosferatu the Vampire, with his favourite actor Klaus Kinski, who was in all of the films I already mentioned, and they were, you know, collaborated on many films together. So Werner Herzog is also somebody I definitely want to check out. And the last person on this list is another French director, just to cap it off, and that's Francois Truffaut at number 1. So Truffaut, I want to see specifically Jules and Jim and Day for Night, but I've also already seen The 400 Blows, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a brilliant examination of childhood and neglect. And I felt like it was very emotionally powerful, specifically the final shot, which is absolutely crushing. And Truffaut definitely is someone I want to check out alongside his other French New Wave partners like Bresson, like Godard and Melville, and many others. And that is why he is one of the directors that I want to check out. So there you go. That's my second video in my list series. and another 10 directors that I want to check out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, drop your comments down in the section below. Is there any other directors that you think I should check out that I haven't mentioned in either of these two videos? If so, I'd be really interested to find out more about them. Drop that down in the comment section below, as I said. Is there any other lists you think I should do? Again, if you have any input, that would be great, and I'll take that on board. Drop it down in the comment section below, and hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Goodbye.